Fantastic. All right, hey, it's Annie Peguero. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Daily Roar. And today we're going to talk about fear, the other F word. Oh, fear. Fear can be totally paralyzing, as I think that maybe some of you know. What I wanted to do this morning is share one of my biggest fears and how I overcame it, and give you some tips to overcome yours. So let's get right into it. My biggest fear in my whole entire life has been that I just wasn't good enough. I just feared I wasn't good enough. I had this overwhelming feeling of inadequacy in high school and in college. I was constantly comparing myself to other people, other women, every single body part I would compare. I mean, it really got to just kind of a phobia, if you want to call it that. I was overcome with fear that I wasn't good enough. So, and that fear lasted well into my 30s, and it finally came out when I was in labor with Lily. Wow. That fear finally came out when I was in labor with Lily, and what happened was I was so fearful that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't going to be a good enough mom, that my body wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough to be able to birth her naturally, that I basically went from 8 centimeters dilate, not basically, I did go from 8 centimeters dilated down to 3. So if you can even imagine, like, going through the whole labor process, getting to 8 centimeters dilated, and then just being overcome with fear about being a mom. Is everything going to be all right with my baby? I've actually never talked about this like this before. I just wasn't sure how to be a mom. I didn't know what I was doing, as so many of us do. And I think that a lot of that fear does come out for a lot of other women in childbirth, and you see a similar thing, but maybe your doctor or whatever explains it away, or just you're not really sure what's going on with your body. But for me, I knew that's what it was. I knew. I was in a Japanese birth center. I had studied my hypnobirthing and what I was going to do during labor, and I knew exactly that I was afraid. And my doula was like, "What are you afraid of?" And I told her, I'm like, "What if something's wrong with my baby? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so inadequate." So that was my biggest fear. And what did I do? I had a heart-to-heart with myself and with my fear. And I was like, I had to really go inward. I had to really go inside and be like, okay, I'm afraid. And I acknowledge my fear, and I'm going to do the best that I can every single day, and I'm going to move forward. So that's what I did. And then I birthed Lily on the floor in that birth center. So when in September, when I was 40 some weeks and pregnant with Autumn, and that fear was starting to creep back in again. And I was about 42 weeks pregnant, and I'm like, I'm fearful again. I can tell this baby's ready. I'm fearful. It's me. I'm holding myself back. So I'm talking about my birth and, my own fear, but I want you to apply this to any aspect of your own life where fear is holding you back. For me, fear was holding me back from birthing my babies. I was closing up. I was going inward. I was isolating myself, and my body was seriously unable to birth these babies until I was about 42 weeks pregnant, and it was the night before 42 weeks, and I got one of my little notebooks out. That is Autumn's notebook now, and I wrote her a letter, and I said, I'm gonna cry, and I'm like, "Dear Autumn," I said, "it is safe to come. It's safe for you to be born now. Mommy, it seems like Mommy's really busy, but Mommy is ready. Mama and Daddy are ready for you. Mama and Daddy or Lily are ready for you." And I wrote some other things, and that right there, I released the fear. I released it, and I acknowledged it, and I released it. So my tips for you, and then Autumn, I went into really hard labor at 12:58 in the morning, and Autumn was born by 4:30 in a pool of water in our room over there. So it was fast and furious and amazing and absolutely beautiful. Awesome. So my tips for you, because this is our 9 a.m., 9 minutes at 9, the daily roar. And what I want for you is to roar every single day. And what I mean by that is to show your true self, to be you unapologetically and roar, you know, really. Yeah. Okay, Mama's done in 1 minute. So my tips for you, how to deal with your fear and overcome it are: number one, face it. Face it. Don't live in denial for 37 years like I did. Complete denial for 37 years. So don't live in fear. Face it. Face it to yourself. Talk about it with your spouse, somebody that you trust and love. Face it. Number two, talk to your fear. Talk to it. Acknowledge it. Be like, yeah, I see ya. I see you're there. And this is what's going to happen. And I acknowledge you. And I'm going to overcome you. And just acknowledge your fear and talk to it. Maybe that's crazy. Talk to it however you want to. Maybe in a letter like I did. Just in your own head in meditation, but talk to it. Don't just face it. You know, don't just say, oh yeah, I'm afraid of that. Talk to it. Address it. Talk to it. And number three, take action. You have to take action. So if you do steps number 1 and 2 and you leave out step number 3, then you're not going to be able to move forward past your fear. I mean, the fear is always still there. Of course, I still have feelings of inadequacy and am I strong enough? Am I good enough for these girls? But I know now in my heart and in my soul that I am. And sometimes that fear creeps up and I acknowledge it. I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling like I'm not the mom that I always planned that I would be, you know, like before I became a mom, because we were all such good moms before we became a mom. But I acknowledge it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a good mom. Like I do X, Y, and Z. I'm here for them. And I just acknowledge my fear and I talk to it. And then I take action by doing, you know, certain steps that I've planned out, by doing things with my girls, by doing things in my business, by doing things with my family and my husband. So number 3 is take action. The thing that gets us into our own head is when we don't take action. You know, I think that a lot of times women are doing steps number 1 and 2, saying, yeah, I'm afraid of that. And they're like, okay, well, I admitted it to myself, so that's good enough. But really, addressing the fear and then taking action are going to help you launch over those obstacles and really put that fear in a different place than right there staring at you every day. All right, that's it. That's episode number 2 of the Daily Roar. I'm here every morning at 9 a.m. for 9 minutes, giving you tips, talking about my own experiences and how I've overcome some things. Hopefully that you can learn something from my mistakes and my journey and move on. So you could always catch the recording. We'll also post these up on YouTube, and they'll be here in my timeline, in my feed. So thank you guys so much for being here. Please share with your friends and go to that hashtag Muscles for Money and see what that's all about. Have a really great day. Talk to you later.
Mama,
Roar daily.